What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Rurouni Kenshin. That's right. We're so it's actually this is episode 30 or not 30,
Or episode
28.
28.
Yeah. With me as always, I have Loose Pate.
Yeah, so picking up after the last episode in which Saito arrives to confront Kenshin of like why he's even in the village. But of course, Kenshin counters this as asking like why is Saito even in the village, and we find out that Saito's there because he got wind of that Shishio was also in the village as well.
I wonder if Saito is like following Kenshin the whole time because it.
No, I don't know. It's just like Saito says, like, the reason why he's at this village in particular is that, like I mentioned, like Shishio's there. As we know that, we find out that he is staying at a hot spring resort at that village. And of course, what was it? Kenshin wants to help take down the two corpses that are just hanging up there in order to properly bury them. But of course, the villagers step in saying that they should not be taken down, otherwise they will face repercussions from Shishio and his men.
Yeah. Which of course, like, that there, I guess some of Shishio's men do come up to Kenshin and basically like try to like escort him to the hot springs where Shishio's at. Also, like, I thought it was funny too, like when I think he's what was it Saito he first talks to Misao and he just like sees her as they have that one scene where he sees her as like, I guess he sees each of the characters as different animals, and he sees her as like a weasel. He sees Megami as a fox, and then like I think what was it? Kaoru as I forget what he said. He's just like a.
I keep forgetting that he describes people like that. But eventually both Kenshin and Saito go over to where Shishio is residing, and of course, they're well, of course, Shishio of course finally meets them face to face, and then of course they're asking why Shishio is doing this, and Shishio explains that he's using the village itself to gain dominance. Well, as an example, to gain dominance over Japan and destroy the Meiji government.
Yeah. He kind of explains like what his motivations are for that, and that it's not because I guess he was scarred by what happened in the war, like how his face was burned. He's like, oh, I like that I got scarred because it reminds me of something like it reminds me of like why I'm doing this or whatever. But yeah, this plays out a little bit differently than what I remember from the live action version, because in the live action version, basically, I forget what that guy's name is again, like his right hand man.
His
Saito Sojiro.
Yeah. He is in this scene, by the way.
Yeah, like so Saito actually wasn't in the scene in the live action version, and also Kenshin immediately like I guess there's a fight with him and Saito Sojiro, but in the anime, it seems like there's this other guy that shows up. That's I mean, obviously, I couldn't imagine how this would even play out in a live action adaptation. So maybe that's why this scene was probably cut from the live action version, because this guy shows up who's basically a giant to fight Kenshin, and he uses his he uses his head as an attack, for most of the fight.
Like Kenshin, like he just dodges this guy like throughout this entire fight. And he basically takes advantage of this guy's like, gigantic size to basically just break his leg.
Yeah, and we find out like that. I guess he ends up breaking his helmet too, and I guess under his helmet, like he somehow literally has like a cone shaped head that he uses to try as a weapon.
I don't know. I thought it was. I don't know. That took me a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know if this is in the original series either, though. By the way, because like I'm kind of just basing this off of the live action version. But I mean, I imagine the original series probably has some more like silly things like that too. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, because like the live action version, it's a little bit more condensed in terms of like how they want to explain their plot. I mean, it does still play out the same way, especially like that uh of like a Kenshin's upcoming fight against Seita Sojiro as
yeah.
well.
And that might be like what might happen in the next episode is his fight with Seita Sojiro because they for this whole episode, like Seita Sojiro is just kind of off to the side observing, as well as Shishio. They point out that Shishio basically like the reason why Kenshin's on the defensive for most of the fight is he's hesitant to reveal, I guess too much to Shishio about like I guess what he's capable of.
Yeah, and of course, Shishio is at this time he's not ready to fight against Kenshin just yet because he wants to do it personally in Kyoto
Yeah, yeah.
instead.
So Kitchen ends up taking down the giant with I forget what the technique is called. It's like Mitten something Rio, Mitten Tsurugi Rio. And he ends up taking him down that way. Uh, and yeah, it seems like also at the same time, Misao and I forget what that kid's name is. Yeah,
Yeah.
he ends up
Oh,
he buries the his parents, but then he basically says like he's going to go and get revenge on on the people that killed his parents, which is like um uh the the men that have taken over the village. So
yeah.
and then Miss Al,
So I mean,
I guess she instead of stopping him, she decides that she's going to like tag along with him.
yeah. I mean, well, the kid has no chance against
Yeah.
facing
Yeah, I
against
don't
facing
really
off
feel like
not
she
only
has a
just
chance either. So
no. I mean, considering this kid is carrying around like a completely broken like katana
yeah,
blade. But yeah, so like after Kenshin finally beats this gigantic guy, he draws his blade against Shishio and challenges him. But I really don't feel like Shishio is willing to accept that challenge just yet
yeah,
because like he said, he wants to face Kenshin in Kyoto instead. So it's very likely that Seita is gonna take up arms against Kenshin in his stead for now.
yeah. And from seeing the live action versions, I know how that duel plays out. It could be a little bit different in the anime, but yeah, it seems like I mean, it's it'll be interesting, I guess, to see if there are any major differences. But yeah, from what I remember, the live action version, it doesn't go too well for Kenshin. So I guess we'll see how that happens in the anime. But um, yeah, I thought it was a
Yeah.
pretty good episode. We finally get, I guess, the proper reveal of Shishio, even though we kind of saw him earlier. This is, I guess, the episode where they properly like reveal Shishio, and he reveals like what his motivations. Um, and I thought it was the way they did it. They handled, I guess, his reveal was pretty good. Um,
Mm.
I liked it in the live action movie a lot too. Like I thought it was is pretty effective in the live action version. It doesn't happen the same way in this one. He shows up in a different way. But I thought it worked about as well. But yeah, I don't really have much else to say about the episode though. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
Yeah, it was pretty decent episode. I am liking how uh we finally get the initial confrontation between Kenshin and Shishio and what Shishio's plan for Japan really
Hmm.
is. But of course, this is only like the first step of of what's going to happen for the remainder of the story.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I mean, I guess we'll see what happens with that. I'm interested to see obviously like what the major differences are as the with this arc in comparison to at least with the live action version. Um. So far, it seems like there's just like there are some characters that were not really didn't seem as important in the live action that are I guess seemingly more important in the anime version. And there's some scenes that were cut from the anime or the live action that uh in the anime kind of it feels like they add a lot more to like certain characters and their development and their like backstory. Um,
Yeah, like in the live action series, they did omit certain characters, especially in the first film.
yeah,
In which which I'm curious of why it didn't like translate into the second film. But yeah, it's like yeah, it's I think the live action films did the best they could with who they could like acquire at the time.
Mhm.
But yeah, I thought at the time of how they portrayed these movies, I thought it was pretty decent.
Yeah, and the fact that the live action versions adapt things from the manga that the original anime wasn't able to cover, I guess. Like
Yeah,
the other two movies. Um, well, I guess the last movie really. Uh,
yeah, it was I think it was more of the prequel
yeah,
movie in
I mean
particular.
we did have apparently like I think there was an OVA uh for the prequel stuff. So I mean they technically did cover it, but not the what happens is I guess as a result of that, like what happens in the I
Yeah,
guess it was called the final, which I'm assuming that
yeah,
this
the
anime is
final.
probably going to adapt all that stuff. I would be interested actually to see if the new anime does end up adapting the prequel arc, the trust and betrayal. Um,
I do feel like they're heading toward that
yeah.
direction. But of course, this season, of course, is gonna be focused on the Kyoto
Yeah.
arc.
But yeah, guys. So that all being said, until next time, we will see you all later.